In 1976, two brothers from a Florida cowtown had the biggest record in America. #1 on the pop chart, #1 in Germany, #1 in Switzerland. Broke. Not struggling, not waiting on royalties. Broke. While the man who signed them bought a beach house in Malibu. This is the story of how the Bellamy brothers got taken, and what it cost them to come back. Number 10. A snake, a sleeping bag, and two brothers with nothing. Before there was a betrayal, there was a ranch, Darby, Florida. Not a town so much as a wide spot on a 2-lane in Pasco County. Their father, Homer, made his living as a hired hand, punching cows for neighbors who could pay him a little. He played country music around the house and worked in a local Western swing band, and he taught both boys their first guitar chords in a front room that had nothing else in it worth taking. Their first real gig came in 1968, a benefit concert with their father at the Rattlesnake Roundup in San Antonio, Florida. You want to know how far they were from Nashville? That's how far. David chased it anyway. He had a high school band called The Accidents, playing local joints for gas money and beer, and he'll tell you he never seriously considered another line of work because he didn't know another line of work. Howard did the sensible thing. He took a full-time job at a meat packing plant as a cattle buyer. 19 years old with a company car, an expense account, and a real salary for a kid. Married, settled. He didn't join the band. And here's the part that gets me. Howard was the one with the voice. The voice that would eventually stop a record executive cold at a sound check. He just didn't chase it. He had bills. Then a chicken snake changed everything. One night after a few drinks and an unrehearsed jam, David climbed into bed, and Howard took a sleeping bag they kept on a stack of hay bales. Howard came out of that bag like a lightning bolt, screaming, and a huge chicken snake slid out right behind him. David laughed harder than he'd ever laughed in his life. Neither one of them knew they'd just watched their entire career get born. Because that snake becomes a song, and that song buys a ticket to Los Angeles, which is exactly where the trouble starts. Number 9. The million-selling song that bought them a cage. With no formal training, he produced Stay for Maurice Williams and the Zodiacs, a #1 record in 1960. He co-wrote the Royal Guardsmen's Snoopy vs. the Red Baron, the fastest-selling single in America in 1966, and revived Dion's career with Abraham, Martin, and John. The man had ears. Nobody disputed that. Then, not now. Gernhardt also had Jim Stafford, and Stafford spotted a tape box on the office desk labeled Spiders and Snakes. He liked the title, liked the story, and wanted to rewrite it with whoever wrote it. Whoever wrote it was David Bellamy, inspired by his brother's adventure with the chicken snake back on the farm. In 1974, Spiders and Snakes spends a week at number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100, and a half months on the American chart. Over 1 million copies sold, certified gold on March 8, 1974. If you had an AM radio in a truck that winter, you heard it. Some of y'all can still do the spoken verses from memory. I know you can. And then Gernhardt made an offer, not one contract, 3. A publishing deal, an artist recording deal, and a management deal, all at once, all transferring pieces of David to a man who, by David's own account, David did what a Darby boy does. He drove straight home and laid it out for the only people he trusted with his life, Homer, his mother Frances, and Howard. They were thrilled for him. And they were country people, not lawyers. All they could offer was faith. Rolled the dice and signed the papers. No legal counsel, no changes to a single line. If you've ever put your name on something because the people you love most were proud of you, you already feel where this is going.
Let's look at the numbers. Only 9% of you are actually subscribed. Honestly, that's tough to see. Our team spends days hunting down archives and verifying every single fact just to tell these stories right. If you've made it this far into the video, you're clearly part of the community, so please hit subscribe. It costs nothing and helps us immensely. Now, for those already subscribed, very few of you have made the jump to our membership, and that's a hard pill to swallow because you're the ones who know our value best. If this channel has moved you or inspired you, consider joining. It's the price of one coffee, but it's the literal fuel for this channel. Let's keep this alive together. Back to the story.
Number 8, the duo that was never supposed to be a duo. Los Angeles. 2 ranch kids from a Florida cow town living in an old mansion near the Hollywood Bowl, sharing the place with a comic named Gallagher, who was writing sketches for Jim Stafford's TV show. Howard picked up work as Stafford's personal assistant, out on the road with the comedian, comfortable for the first time. David wrote songs and demoed them with Howard in a little studio they rigged up in the basement. Notice what's missing from that picture. Nobody had signed the Bellamy brothers. There were no Bellamy brothers. There was David, a songwriter under contract, and Howard, an employee.
Let the morning find you in my...
Then Tony Scotti came into it. The Scotti brothers had been promoting spiders and snakes around the country and doing very well by it. And one afternoon at Cypress Gardens, Tony watched Howard set up a show for Stafford. Howard did what road guys do, sang a little something to get the sound levels.
Just remember, honey, you and I'll be...
Tony was impressed enough to go tell Gernhardt about the voice. Gernhardt turned to David and asked whether he and Howard had ever thought about singing together as a duo. David laughed at him. They'd been the Bellamy brothers since they were kids playing next to their father at the Rattlesnake Roundup.
Hard times, when it all goes wrong, we're gonna make it.
It was the only thing they'd ever been, and a building full of professionals in Los Angeles had spent months around them without once bothering to ask. Tony's suggestion, just call yourselves the Bellamy brothers. Stay with me on this, because it's the tell.
And in the meantime, you'll be on my mind.
The thing that made them famous was the thing they already were before they ever left Florida. The industry didn't discover it. The industry tripped over it at a sound check. And once the machine finally noticed, it moved fast, because a song was already sitting in a drawer across town. A song 2 other men had already thrown away.
Like a beacon, shining in the...
Number 7, the song 2 stars threw away.
For the candle lights must be the season when that...
1975. Gernhardt liked what he was hearing from the basement and gave David the go-ahead to cut some songs with Neil Diamond's band. During one of those sessions, Diamond's drummer, Dennis St. John, walked over and told David that their roadie, Larry Williams, had written a song, and it sounded like something the Bellamys would do.
For the warm, sweet nights, there's your reason.
Larry E. Williams wasn't a songwriter by trade. He was a guitar tech who worked for Neil Diamond across much of the man's touring career, and he felt comfortable enough to hand his boss a song he'd written with Diamond in mind. Diamond passed. It was 1975. He was focused on cutting demos for Beautiful Noise, and he didn't think the song fit the direction he was headed. Johnny Rivers turned it down too. A musician named Gene Cotton actually recorded it and put it out as a single, and it went nowhere.
Down to the stream and let your love grow with the smallest...
So, by the time Let Your Love Flow reached David Bellamy, it was a twice-rejected song with a failed release already behind it. On paper, that's not a hit. On paper, that's a corpse. David heard it and immediately called Howard, telling him he had to play him this song.
The light shines all around us.
Autumn 1975, Wally Heider's studio in Hollywood, Diamond's players around them, St. John on drums, Emery Gordy on bass, Doug Rohn and Richard Bennett on guitars, Alan Lindgren on keys. They found the right key, the band hooked it immediately, and the whole session took maybe 2 or 3 takes.
Know what I mean? Now it's the season.
2 or 3 takes, on a song nobody wanted, and here's the second thing. Curb was uncertain about whether the song was even viable. Their own label wasn't sold. Whether Neil Diamond ever thinks about that afternoon, I'll let you decide. Because what happened next didn't happen in America.
It's the season. Let your love...
Number 1 in countries they'd never heard of, Curb.
And looking for a friend.
Made a decision that struck 2 guys from Darby as pure sophistication. released Let Your Love Flow in Europe before America ever heard it. The Bellamys watched all that high-level business wizardry with something close to awe. This was how the pros broke a brand new act, and they were the act. It worked. The record charted in the Netherlands. The video got airplay on television in England and across the continent. They flew over for a promo tour and were treated like royalty. Germany, then Hamburg, then Bavaria, then Switzerland. Weeks earlier, they hadn't mattered to anybody outside their own family. Now, in places they'd barely heard of back home, millions of Europeans knew their harmonies. Then it broke at home. May 1st, 1976. Let Your Love Flow is the #1 record in the United States.
You start out first, but you end up last.
#1 in Germany, #1 in Switzerland, #7 in the UK. It became the largest BMI airplay record of that entire year. Decades later, BMI put it on the list of the 100 most played songs of the 20th century. David's own line on it, 2 farm boys from Florida with a worldwide hit. So big, so quick, they figured they must have a career.
Try to break the spell she cast.
And then came the follow-ups. Hellcat, #70 on the Hot 100. Satin Sheets, #73. That's it. That's the whole back half of 1976. The biggest record in America in the spring, and by autumn they couldn't buy a hit.
Standing in a cross.
Country radio wasn't home either. Let Your Love Flow had only reached 21 on the country chart, so they weren't a country act, and they were no longer a pop act. They were a novelty. And somewhere in Malibu, a beach house was about to change hands. Just not to them.
Reaching for lost.
Number 5, The Beach House in Malibu.
It ain't no use.
Okay, this is the part they put together a good touring band and went out on the road, opening for Loggins and Messina, one of the hottest acts in the country, determined to build a real career out of that one record. Los Angeles in the mid-70s was what it was.
The conversation just keeps getting colder.
David has been plain-spoken about it. There was a razor blade in every rehearsal hall in town, cocaine was everywhere, and they weren't going to be the 2 guys who sat it out. But the work never stopped. The music never stopped being the point. Here's what did stop. The money never arrived. Gernhard bought a new beach house in Malibu. And the Bellamys, with one of the biggest hits of the year, remained poor. Sit with that a second. Same year, same record. One man buys oceanfront property. The 2 men whose voices are on the thing can't get out from under. And I want to be careful here because Gernhard wasn't a cartoon crook. He was a genuinely gifted record man who found them the song that made them. But they weren't the only artist in his orbit to eventually do the math. Lobo, another Gernhard act, wised up to how much money he was getting cut out of, and that relationship ended too. Then Chicago, $60,000 worth of their own music equipment stolen out of their tour truck, driving them deeper into the financial hole. That's the bottom, not a betrayal with a knife in it, a betrayal with paperwork. If you've ever built something real and watched somebody else get rich off it while you counted change, I don't need to name that feeling for you. You already have a name for it. Number 4, Living in a Tent.
I would ask the raging river not to drown.
So they quit. They let the band go and left Los Angeles, heading back to Darby, Florida. The logic was simple. Darby's closer to Nashville than LA is. The rent was nothing. There were cows they could butcher and turnip greens and oranges in the ground. And when the big shots in LA found out the Bellamy brothers were planning to stay on a Florida cow farm, the message came back plain. They'd never work in show business again. That's the sentence. That's what a man says when he's decided you're finished. And Howard, the sensible one, the one with the company car at 19, the one who'd never gone a day without an income, was living in a tent. He's called it rock bottom himself, and he wasn't reaching for a phrase. Now here's the twist I still can't quite get over.
Fall upon my face, I have crawled out to
Larry E. Williams, the roadie, the guy humping Neil Diamond's guitars, the man who wasn't even a songwriter by trade, was making serious royalties off Let Your Love Flow. Howard's line about it later was that Williams became the wealthiest roadie who ever lived.
driven to my knees, I come here.
And here's what tells you everything about these two men. There's no bitterness in it. None. Williams wrote a great song and got paid for a great song. That's how it's supposed to work. That's the whole point. That's what makes this a betrayal and not just bad luck. The system worked exactly right for the man who wrote the song. It worked exactly wrong for the men who sang it. Same record, same year, same people handling the money.
I would ask the raging river not to drown.
Number 3, the 2 years nobody talks about.
Save your heart and save your dreams. Forget about
1977 and 1978 barely exist in the Bellamy brothers' story. There's a reason nobody tells you about them. Plain and Fancy in 77, Crossfire didn't chart in the United States at all. Neither did Can Somebody Hear Me Now. Neither did Memorabilia.
it comes and goes from time to time.
Beautiful Friends in 78. Bird Dog scraped to number 86 on the country chart and vanished. 2 years, 2 albums, 2 men on a Florida farm with a number 1 pop record, 3 years in the rear view, and a label that had effectively stopped thinking about them. You know what's worse than getting dropped? Getting kept.
With you, you don't need a crazy love like mine.
Staying on the roster and being invisible. So they did the thing that took more nerve than any of it. They called for a meeting with Mike Curb himself, told him straight out how hard it had become to work with Gernhard, and asked for a better situation. They walked in braced for a fight. They'd been scrapping so long they didn't know another way into a room. And they didn't get one, because Curb's cousin John was a record promoter, and John had heard a couple of things the brothers cut, and he told Mike flatly that he could get them played on country radio. David's response was 3 words: "Where have you been?" 3 years. 3 years of failed singles, stolen gear, a tent on a Florida ranch, and a blacklist threat. And the answer had been sitting inside the same company the entire time. Nobody had thought to ask the country guy. That's not villainy. That's something colder. That's indifference. But the door was open now, and David had already written the song. Number 2, the song the label didn't believe in. Country radio came slowly. Slippin' Away got into the 30s. The next single, Lovin' On, climbed to 16. Real progress, finally, on a chart that actually fit them. They were out on the road with Conway Twitty when they started working a new David Bellamy song into the set. Long title, ridiculous title, a double entendre lifted from a line Groucho Marx used to get away with on television. If I said you have a beautiful body, would you hold it against me? The crowd reaction was so strong they started believing they'd caught lightning a second time, the kind of song that lights a career up and keeps it burning. You already know what the label said. Almost nobody at Curb believed in it, and the brothers had to battle just to get a small recording budget out of them. Howard's summary of that entire era: everything was a fight. Every single thing. Think about that. Broke, blacklisted, written off, one shot at a second life, and the people paid to sell their records had to be argued into funding the session. May 30th, 1979. That song is the number 1 country record in America. It holds for 3 consecutive weeks. It charted worldwide, got its first UK radio play by way of Northern Ireland, and ended up Record of the Year over there. 24 years later, Country Weekly named that title the greatest pickup line in the history of country music.
Johnny kissed the
And if you were anywhere near a jukebox at last call in the summer of '79, you heard it more than once, probably from somebody who thought it was funnier than it was. They were back, and this time, they had no intention of being anybody's employee. Number 1, what they built out of it. Here's what the Betrayal bought in the end: 12 #1 singles, more than 50 country chart records, and the all-time record for duo nominations at both the ACM and the CMA. Redneck Girl in 1982, their 6th #1, written by David. Old Hippie in '85, which Rolling Stone would eventually rank among the 100 greatest country songs ever recorded. But the number that actually matters is this one. In 1991, they left for Atlantic Records. One album. Then they formed their own label, Bellamy Brothers Records, becoming some of the very first country artists to own their own imprint, and they've been licensing out of their own company ever since. They never signed away 3 pieces of themselves again. Not once, not to anybody. And I have to tell you how the other side ended, because it isn't clean. Phil Gernhard went to Nashville with Curb in '92 and became head of A&R there, finding hits for Tim McGraw, Joe D. Messina, and Rodney Atkins, a legend in 2 cities. He was also fighting alcoholism and drug addiction, carrying scars from an emotionally abusive father he never got out from under, and going through a 4th divorce. He took his own life in 2008. That's not a punchline. There's no satisfaction in it anywhere. Meanwhile, in Darby, 200 acres, Brahman cattle, quarter horses, a recording studio they own outright, and 3 generations of Bellamys living on the same ground their father worked as a hired hand. Florida Artists Hall of Fame, 2018. Still filling clubs and theaters well over 100 nights a year. They went home, and home is the thing that saved them.
Oh, don't